thanks so much for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Michelle Beck. Let's get into your headlines. A look at the markets this morning as the world reacts to the biggest tariffs yet issued by President Donald Trump. The new taxes on China as that country says it'll fight to the end of a trade war with the U.S. And despite warnings of an escalating trade war from analysts, business leaders, and lawmakers, President Trump and his team insist the pain in the pocket for Americans will be short-lived and the country will profit. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest from Washington.
Hi there. President Trump is not backing off his strategy, saying at a Republican dinner overnight new tariffs on pharmaceuticals would be announced very soon, and that he believes the overall effect for the U.S. economy will be legendary.
Not going to take it anymore. And that's
this morning, President Trump's trade war ratcheting up as his unprecedented tariffs on imports from around the world took effect just after midnight, spooking Wall Street investors once again.
I know what the hell I'm doing. I know what I'm doing.
The White House says 70 countries have already reached out to negotiate down the tariffs.
They are dying to make a deal. Please, sir, make a deal.
Something some Republicans wary of stock market plunges and recession warnings are begging the president to do.
Pretty pleased with sugar on top. You sit down with every one of these countries that want to lower their trade barriers, and let's make a deal.
Others standing by President Trump's tariff strategy.
To reset, recalibrate the entire global economy by bringing it all home to America.
But economists warn it will take years to rebuild American manufacturing for products like apparel and electronics that long ago shifted overseas, with the U.S. especially reliant on China, now hit with a cumulative 104% tariff. China firing back with retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods. Some products like imported auto parts already seeing sticker shock from earlier tariff rounds.
There was one part that was around $280, and then 2 days later, the cost went up to like $328.
Democrats underscoring higher prices for American consumers.
The U.S. economy has gone from the envy of the world to a laughingstock in less time than it took to finish March Madness.
As President Trump stands firm that his big bet on trade will pay off. China now increasing its tariffs on U.S. goods to 84% amid signs elsewhere of negotiation. South Korea's top trade official headed to Washington seeking a reduction in tariffs. And President Trump says Japan is sending a team for trade talks, too. In Washington, I'm Alice Barr. Back to you.
Now to a developing situation in North Dakota. Crews are working right now to get the Keystone Pipeline back up after it ruptured, causing it to leak millions of gallons of oil. Officials say an employee working at the site heard a mechanical bang and shut down the pipeline within about 2 minutes. The spill is confined to an agriculture field, but exactly how much oil spilled and what caused the issue is still unclear. The IRS has agreed to share the tax information of undocumented immigrants with ICE. The move will give unprecedented access to immigration enforcers to aid in deportations. A memorandum of understanding was filed on Monday between the Department of Homeland Security and the IRS. The memo says ICE can request information from the IRS for its investigations into undocumented immigrants who have not left the country after getting a final order of removal from a judge. According to a report by the Washington Post on Tuesday, acting IRS Commissioner Melanie Krause is planning to resign. That's in part over being bypassed in the decision. Meantime, several local law enforcement agencies are now working with ICE to identify and in some cases arrest immigrants set for deportation. You can see here the county sheriff's offices involved in this map: Itasca, Jackson, Cass, Crow Wing, and Freeborn counties. Our Gordon Severson explains how they'll participate in immigration enforcement.
According to the ICE website, the agency has signed more than 400 agreements with law enforcement agencies in 38 states under Section 287G. They include 5 law enforcement agencies in Minnesota. The Freeborn and Jackson County sheriffs have signed warrant service agreements. According to ICE, these officers will be trained to help ICE execute immigration warrants in their respective counties. Jackson County also signed a jail enforcement agreement. According to local immigration attorneys, this agreement gives local officers more authority to question and interrogate detainees who are in custody.
Generally speaking, they're allowing or sort of deputizing the local authorities to do some functions.
Julia Decker with the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota says the third type of agreement, the task force agreement, will give local officers more enforcement authority, which she says could give officers the ability to report people to ICE during traffic stops and other interactions. According to the ICE website, Cass, Crow Wing, and Itasca County have all recently signed these agreements.
It's all very much in flux right now.
Decker says adding these counties to the list doesn't necessarily mean residents will see more immigration activity or more enforcement. Local sheriffs may be taking advantage of new training opportunities that became available after the president signed an executive order in January. However, she is worried about the message this will send to immigrant communities.
People who are immigrants who may have been victims of crime or may have been witnesses to crime may feel less willing or less safe to report those crimes. And so there is an attendant sort of potential public safety consequence.
The U of M student detained by ICE will now testify in a hearing Friday that could determine whether he's released. This comes after the Department of Homeland Security added an even more serious immigration charge. The attorney for the student told the judge in immigration court yesterday the charge is usually reserved for terrorists. The judge acknowledged she's never seen it used before in a drunk driving case like this one. And new this morning, the FAA's head of air traffic is retiring early, and the agency is making sweeping changes to leadership at Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C. The changes are in part because of the deadly mid-air collision over the Potomac River in January. They're also part of federal buyouts throughout the Department of Transportation. New leadership at Reagan, according to the FAA, will be responsible for reviewing safety data at the airport, preventing incidents and near misses, and training employees to meet national standards. Right now, rescue workers in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, still searching the rubble at a collapsed nightclub looking for any survivors. Officials announced this morning that the death toll has risen to 113 people. The roof of the Jet Set nightclub collapsed without warning early Tuesday morning during a concert by popular Dominican merengue singer Ruby Perez, who was among those killed, according to his manager and family members near the site. Two former MLB players, Octavio Dotel and Tony Blanco, were also killed. New video this morning showing an Illinois firefighter being pulled from a home after it exploded. Take a look at this. That's incredible video right there. You can see everyone there rushing back to the home and starting to lift debris off of a firefighter who was caught in the mess. He was hurt, but he is expected to be okay. If you work at the Southdale Mall or the hospital, your commute there is going to be messy. The third construction project in this area of Edina is underway. Our Audrey Russo is there with the disruption to your commute.
If you're driving through Edina, there's a new road closure to keep in mind. If you look behind me, you can see that France Avenue South between Market Street and 49th now closed for the next couple of days through the weekend. A Minneapolis City Councilor tells us that it's for a private development project, but this closure is actually the third construction project in this area, including E-line work at 44th and Abbott, plus sewer line repairs at 54th and Xerxes. Now, this could impact drivers who are trying to get to Southdale Center or Southdale Hospital. Prepare to start detouring around 44th Street if you are headed southbound. Now, again, there are a lot of signs out here directing people where to go. If you're walking in this area, only one part of the sidewalk is open on the west side. So just something else to keep in mind. There are signs directing pedestrians to cross the street at the appropriate place. Back to you.
Valleyfair announced its opening for the season on May 11th. And this summer, there's going to be a new festival dedicated to Minnesota's Juicy Lucy. Valleyfair says its culinary team has been busy testing a range of burgers, traditional Minnesota foods, and local brews to bring out those flavors. So do mark your calendars for the weekend of July 12th. Stick with us. More news and weather is coming up right after the break.